Welcome to the nextTalk podcast. We are a nonprofit passionate about keeping kids safe online. We're learning together how to navigate tech, culture, and faith with our kids. We have Pastor Robert Emmitt back on the show today. Robert and Julie were the founding family behind Community Bible Church in San Antonio, Texas. Robert, we're so glad to have you back.
It's a pleasure to be back, Mandy. Thanks for having me.
Today we are talking about leadership qualities. You know, whenever I present to parents, I always say to them, you are the leaders in your home, and the culture in your home will not change unless you change it. Right?
That's a good word.
I want you to tell us, what do you look for in a leader? Because and this could be applied to your career, business, whatever, but we also have to be thinking about these qualities in a good leader in the home.
First one that comes to my mind is humility. The Bible says, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted." So, that leadership of saying, the sermon I've used to preach, and everybody's joy, J-O-I. Think about Jesus, others, and then yourself. And most of us, it's Y and J and O or something. But humility to realize you're not an expert, you're not the pro, and you make mistakes. And humility says, when I mess up, I apologize to my wife or my children. When I do something wrong, we never had a double standard. If I told my kids, and I don't know if this is legal or not, but we used to spank them on the rear end, for not good deeds, nothing bad. But one time I told them, 'cause I got tired of everybody leaving their clothes on the landing on the stairs. I said, the next person that leaves their clothes when they go upstairs is going to get a swat on the rear end. And okay, it's fair enough. And a little bit later, I ran up the stairs and I did my whatever I was doing, then came back down. And Heather said, "Dad," I said, "Yeah." She said, "Do you know what you just did?" I said, "Yeah, I went upstairs for something." She says, "No, you left your clothes on the stairs." And I said, "Ah." And she says, "And you said whoever does gets a swat." I said, "You're right." So I gave her the paddle, and she walked me through the old routine. Put your hands on the couch. Now why am I going to spank you? And I said, because I didn't take my clothes up, and I knew the rules. So she said, "Okay." She said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too, Heather." She pow laid into me, and I never forgot my clothes on the stairs ever again.
Don't you love when kids humble you like that? You think you're creating rules for them, and
Oh,
they're calling you out on your stuff.
and they'll do it. And that's one of those, you got that split second to say, well, I'm a grown up, or it's my car. I'll do the way when you tell your kids don't text and drive, and then you catch yourself, doing that little, meh, and then when they call you, just hands up, hey, guilty as charged. I'm sorry. Ice cream for everybody, or something like that. So, parenting, if you'll be humble and, admit your mistakes, because everybody knows you make them, you're the only one that won't admit it. Mom knows it, or dad knows it, kids know it, neighbors know it. So, as well, just say, look, I messed up. I overreacted. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And I found children are very forgiving, and so that would be the first thing. Second thing is, you can say, do as I say and not as I do, but they're going to do as you do. That's just a rule of life. So whatever you don't want them to do, then you don't do it. If you don't want them to cuss, you don't cuss. They still might cuss, but at least they're not cussing because you were their example. Proverbs, was it 22:6? Train up a child in the way they should go. When he's older, they will not part from it. And that's that guiding thing. As I've told you last time, you're 0 to 12, you're their authority. 12 to 18, you're their advisor. 18 and beyond, you're their friend. And those crucial years of advising, it's saying, look, you got a decision to make. Here's option A, here's option B, here's where this one's going to take you and that one's going to take you. But your choice, and I support whatever you do. And you give them that freedom to grow up and take responsibility for it.
Make mistakes, feel their mistakes. I think it's important.
Some people are just so quick to solve their kids' mistakes. You miss the point. If they messed up, they forgot the homework or didn't study for the test or whatever, then they go apologize or do whatever the teacher makes them do.
Well, and I think an apology just goes so far to build a relationship, to build the culture at work that you're wanting to create, whatever it is, whatever kind of leader you are. It
Yeah.
just breaks down barriers for people.
It a few weeks ago, I preached at Chris's church, and they were finishing up the book of Ephesians, and he said, "I'm going to give you Ephesians 5:19 through 6:10 or something like that." And I read it. I said, "Oh," I called him up and said, "Man, you're giving me the easy stuff: marriage, family, and work. What do you want me to focus on?" He said, "All three." I said, all three. One is a 6-week series. He said, "I know," but he said, if God can say it in 22 words, maybe you can say it in 30 minutes. So I gave it my shot. Didn't quite hit the 30-minute mark, but on the parenting piece, it was funny because Ephesians, it says, "Children, obey your parents, for this is pleasing to the Lord." It's the first promise with a command with a promise. You live a long, happy life if you respect and obey your parents. And I said, and then the second part is, fathers, don't aggravate your children, don't provoke them to anger. Rather, nurture them, mentor them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And then I joked, I says, and if you'll notice, there's no command here for the mothers. And everybody started laughing. I'd already talked about the mothers. Wives are submissively superior to their husbands, and we all know it. But I said, mothers, God wired you to nurture. You know what to do. I said, but the fathers, we tend to irritate and poke and prod until we drive them crazy. So I had a good time on that. But I told the kids, I said, how simple is your instruction? Do what your parents say. I said, try something this week. I said, do it the first time they tell you to do it. I said, watch the look on their face. Maybe they pass out. Who knows what happens? But when they say, do this, and you just get up and do it, say, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, you just do it. I said, you'll be shocked at how your parents' attitude change. And you'll also be shocked at how much more freedom you get by doing what your parents say the first time you say to do it. So haven't gotten any results back from parents saying, "Oh, thank you for that message. My child has obeyed us," and flawlessly since. But I mean, that's the rules. And then for dads, I always use that thing. Don't be the dad that says, "It's a nice single, but if you'd have run a little harder, you could have gotten a double." Hey, look, Dad, I got 5 A's and 1 B. Well, if you'd have worked a little harder, you could have had 6 A's. Just those dads that always raise the bar, and then the child's about to hit it. And, all right, there, well, do this always. So learn to say, well done, my child. Proud of you, happy for you. Great job.
I think that's a really important word there for as a leader, to recognize the work and not always you could do better. You could do better. I think that's a real good word for us as parents, because I think it also in this culture we're taught that just improve, continuous improvement all the time.
Acknowledge it. You just hit me with something that I was thinking. Number one rule for dads is, and it's for leaders too, everybody, but it's praise publicly, correct privately. And, even watching dads, it feels like, Lisa's playing soccer and you see dads out there trying to tell their son or daughter, what to do and do this and kick it, all of it. Just let them play and have fun. It's a game. When your children mess up, you just quietly, smile. And then when you're alone with them, say, hey, you kind of messed up back there. Correct them privately and praise them publicly. Don't correct them in front of everybody else and embarrass them in front of their friends, or you'll discover your kids never want to bring their friends over to the house.
Okay, so I think that's a really good word, because we would not want to be embarrassed in front of people either. Like if our kids have friends over at the house and our kid says to, like, say my son says to me, "Mom, please stop doing that. That is so embarrassing in front of everybody." That would humiliate me. But
Yeah.
but son, you have freedom to pull me aside and be like, "Mom, I need you to stop doing this in private." It's that
Oh,
respect
yeah.
thing. You're showing respect. Like, I need to be honest here. This is not okay. Please don't do that. But it's a respectful kind of on the side thing instead of calling each other out in front of everyone.
It's a lot easier to say, you got a minute? Yeah. Or let's take the trash out together.
I love that point. That's a good leadership quality. That is a good leadership quality. What else for leadership qualities?
Let them exceed your abilities.
Mm.
Uh, be happy. And Jesus said it. He said, the things that I do, you'll also do, and greater things will you do because I'm going to the Father. Let your leaders, let your people under you beat you. Let them surpass you. If you're a parent playing games, let your children win. If you're racing them, let them win the race. If you're shooting baskets, let them win the horse game, whatever. Let them win. And you don't you're a 180-pound man and you just beat your 8-year-old in a game. What honor is that? What good is that? You're good for you. Way to go, man. You still got it with the 8-year-old. I mean, let them win. And then when they say, "Were you playing your hardest?" And yeah, I was pretty close to it. You just kind of go easy. But when you let them win, it's amazing. I got this is a fresh story. Micah, he's the 9-year-old, second to the youngest grand, but he's super smart, gifted, and talented. Just one of those kids that's just when you got it, you got it. But he's really nice and humble about it. But he started playing chess and he called me up and said, "I want you to download chess.com. I'm on the chess team." He's in third grade. And I said, "Yeah, I'll play." Yeah. So we play. And, we're playing and I'm making my moves and I hear this, "Ooh, Pops, that wasn't a good move." And, okay. And I moved another one. "Well, Pops, did you know I was going to take your queen?" "Yeah, well, no, I didn't." He said, "Are you doing this on purpose?" I said, "No, I was just playing you at my grandfather level. I didn't know you were this good." So I started playing him a little harder, a little harder. I mean, the little stinker. I mean, he beat me. And he said, "Did I really beat you?" I said, "Yes, you really beat me." Then the second time, and I called Brianna. I said, "How long has he been playing chess?" And she said, "Exactly 1 week tonight." I said, "You're kidding." I said, "He's got moves and strategies." And I asked him, I said, "How do you?" He said, "Just when they explain how the pieces move and what they do, I understood it." He looks at the board and sees all the pieces. And we were there and I played him. We just almost nonstop every evening, just playing chess. And oh, it was fun. But, he said, "Are you really letting me win?" I said, "Yep, I'm really letting you win." Then when he got me in a stalemate, I said, "You know what a stalemate is?" He said, "Yes, sir. It means you didn't win and I didn't lose." But let your kids win in your business place. When somebody exceeds you, don't tell them how you could have done it that way, 20 years ago. Just say, "Man, I'm so proud of you." Just like the old saying, if you're the best person at the table, then you've made a mistake. If you're the smartest person at the table and you're in charge of it, you made a mistake. So you hire people, you train them, you empower them, and then when they succeed, you just celebrate with them.
That's a word. That's a word right there for sure. What else?
Celebrate the wins. Whenever you hit the goal or the mark, you just celebrate. And if you come pretty close to it, celebrate anyway. I mean, people love a party better than a powwow, just a sorrowful thing. So celebrate the wins. Do what's best for the organization. And if you're in the family, your family's the organization. So do what's best for your organization. If you're up for a transfer and your kids are juniors or seniors in high school, you tell the boss, we can do it in a year or two, or you let your children stay with a cousin or a friend and finish their school. I mean, you think what's not what's best for me, but it's what's best for the family. It's not what's best for me, it's what's best for the company. And if you keep that attitude, you'll always keep in balance. When you start thinking it's all about you and you've been here for 6 months, you ought to have a place at the board table by now. It doesn't work that way. Just think and do what's best for the organization.
Well, those last couple that you mentioned, they all tie back into humility. They all tie back because it's not about you. And surround yourself with smarter people and
Yep.
let more people to surpass you. All of those are humility things. And it was the first thing that you mentioned when we started talking about leadership.
I mean, when you think about it and you really let it sink in, Jesus said, "The things that I do, you also shall do, and greater things shall I do because I go to the Father." And for 3 years, they've been hanging out with Jesus. He's been doing all the work. They're just kind of, assistants. And then when the Holy Spirit comes, and the next thing you know, they're healing, raising lame people and incredible things. But he's right. I mean, the goal isn't for you to be the leader all the time. The goal is for you to be the leader. Go down and pick up, your son or daughter or your employees, take them back with you up and get them there. And then when it exceeds, you let them go and cheer them on.
That's great. That's great. Anything else for leadership?
I would say this is a hard one, but don't take everything personally.
Mm.
If somebody quits your company and goes somewhere else, it stings, and you'll always be the reason. It's just like a pastor, whenever somebody leaves the church, it's always my fault. It's never them or anything else. It's always, Robert did this or that. And in business, it's the same thing. but try not to take it personal. It's almost impossible not to do. But if you do, if you take it personal, then you're going to get bitter about it and think, man, I did this and this and this for them. And then this is the way they show their thanks. It's easy to get cynical really quick. And when that happens, you only ruin your life and nobody else's.
Can we talk about that in a perspective of a parent with a prodigal? Because I think that happens a lot too. You have a prodigal or a kid really struggling, and it becomes all about you and not praying for the child. Can we?
Yeah. There comes a point where you train your kids, you teach them, you model it, you get them around churches and friends and coaches. You do everything you can to raise them, but they're still a human being with all the rights and privileges thereof, make their own decisions. And when they make the wrong ones as a parent, you hurt, you ache, you cry, you pray, you suggest, you try everything you can, and sometimes they just flat out don't do what you know was the right thing to do. And when they don't, like the prodigal son's dad, he didn't go chasing after him. And, whether probably just, I mean, like I always tell people, I said, any father that gives the troublemaker child his inheritance, making a big mistake right there. But I think Jesus was trying to get a point across. There's some people, they don't care what you do. Give me what's mine. I'm out of here. And they blow it on a world of whatever they think is going to satisfy them. And it's empty. They come back broken and humbled. And I like the father because he did run after him when he saw him coming back. He did not run after him when he walked away. Man, that's another, I've never said that before, Mandy. The prodigal son's dad did not run after his son when he left, but he did run after his son when he came back. Man, I need to write that down. That's a sermon right there.
That is because you got to let them go and you got to let them fail and welcome them with open arms
Yeah.
when they see the light.
And sometimes that's a generation. Sometimes they don't ever come back, and those are heartbreakers too. But a lot of times they do come back, and those are the ones you just say, no remembering the past. Go back to your love chapter in 1 Corinthians 13. Love doesn't remember a wrong suffered. Mm-hmm. Welcome them back with open arms, and your children. And they're getting all kind of stuff pumped into them through music and media and social media and schools and stuff like that. And a lot of times they make bad decisions, and you try to steer them out of it. And when they don't steer, they get hurt and burned, and something happens, and you're there for them. You don't fix their problem. You don't say, "Come on back, I'll pay for all your mistakes." You say, "Come on back, I love you just as much now as I ever did, and let's go forward." It's the way you fix it.
I think the letting go is hard, and I know when I first started nextTalk and was realizing everything our kids were up against online and all the dangers that the technology presented and how I was going to parent it and how Matt and I were going to figure all this out together. One of the things that kept going off in my mind over and over was when my kids leave here at 18 and I'm no longer the parent, I move into friend where I'm just the advisor and they can go do and whatever decisions they want. I want at that 18th move out to feel like I've done everything in my power to disciple and push this kid to Jesus, point them to Jesus and model that for them in their life. And I want to be exhausted from it. I want to be totally exhausted. And I think, talking about the prodigal and then looking back, like you said, if you've done everything you can, you got to let them go. And they're still a human being and they still may choose the wrong thing, even if you do everything right.
Yeah.
Everything right. And I think that's such a word, but it is also a reminder that we are given 18 years with our kids. And these leadership qualities matter in those 18 years because they will shape that kid.
Yeah, it's when I was preaching on the marriage, work, and family, on the fathers that said mentor your children, and I told them pretty much what I do everybody. I said the number one selling devotional book in the world, sold billions of copies. It's called the Book of Proverbs. And I said, yeah, I know it's sold billions because it's part of the Bible, but it's still the devotion. 31 chapters, 31 days. And when you're reading through that, a chapter a day, for 18 years, your kids are going to pick it up. It's not just a one and done. It's just what you get out of Proverbs today, what you get out of it, yesterday, and that sort of thing. It's just that constant as you go, and it's not a full blown lecture. Take out your pen and paper and write down what I say. It's just kind of that, like Jesus said, as you go, make disciples, as you live your life. So, in Proverbs, I've told people, man, there's some great verses in there, and there's also some scary ones. But, when your kids filter through it every month, it'll sink in, but you got to filter through it. I mean, can't be a 1 month deal and then be done with it. It's got to be a regular. This is what we're going to talk about driving to school today. What'd you get out of Proverbs? And let them talk.
Well, what I like about you've always instilled that with us, and we've done that too, or read a Proverbs a day. And as the kids got older, what we would say is, it's okay, it's the second of the month. So everybody read Proverbs too. And then at dinner, we're going to be discussing it. Like that's kind of what we would do. And what was cool about that is if we missed a day or, the day we have practices a couple days and we don't have dinner, you're still doing it. You're not missing anything. You just go to the next day. And that it was a very practical way to stay in the word, because when you're working through a workbook or a Bible study, when you get behind, then you just are like, okay, I'm behind, I'm done. But this is a very practical tool that I think is important.
Well, that's what God tells the father, to mentor the children. It's the dad's job. Moms do it naturally. Dads, apparently, we don't do it naturally. So God has to remind us, your job is not to irritate your child, but to raise them up in the fear and correction of the Lord. So that's it. Try to be a cool dad, not the best friend dad, but a cool dad, not judgmental. Don't blow up. Oh, that's another thing on the parenting is avoid this look whenever your child says something. If they tell you what happened or what so and so did or what they've declared or whatever, don't go, just say, really, tell me more about it. Just talk as quick as you can. Get into conversation mode, get out of shock mode. Because if they tell you what's going on and you're shocked all the time, that's when you get not much.
We call that crazy parent mode at nextTalk. We don't go into crazy parent mode. You have to remain calm. In fact, I just left a school and I've got parents and kids signing a pact. And the first thing on that family covenant is the parents are promising they're not going to go crazy parent mode. And then underneath that, I have students who they're promising to tell their parents about all these things, and we list them out. But it's a two-way street. It's that communication.
Well, you're making disciples, Mandy.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the leadership stuff. I think this was really good, just walking through. There's so many good nuggets here about leading in our home and the quality and just being the good model for our kids behind closed doors too. Let's just be honest, because sometimes you see a lot of good leaders in public, a lot of good parents on Facebook, but are they real authentic living it out in daily life? And I think that's really important too.
Yeah, you're right on the mark with that.
Model it out. All right. Anything else for us?
Not right now. It's call me anytime. I'll get my picture just right. Next time I'll take you to the fall picture right there.
Oh, cool.
nextTalk is a 501c3 nonprofit keeping kids safe online. To support our work, make a donation at nexttalk.org. nextTalk resources are not intended to replace the advice of a trained healthcare or legal professional, or to diagnose, treat, or otherwise render expert advice regarding any type of medical, psychological, legal, financial, or other problem. You are advised to consult a qualified expert for your personal treatment plan.
Our nextTalk podcast is in the top 2% of over 3.4 million podcasts ranked by Listen Notes. But now we're also adding YouTube. So this is a whole new thing we're doing. If you could like, subscribe, and comment on these videos, it would help us so much. We appreciate y'all.